Cannock Chase is a mixed area of countryside in Staffordshire, England. It is known and renowned worldwide for its picturesque, serene, almost magical beauty. But just beneath the surface of this green and pleasant exterior lie much darker things that have been providing a steady supply of nightmare fuel to the locals for a very long time indeed, stretching back into ancient times. For you see, Cannock Chase is a known hotspot for unexplained activity. While a discussion on this cursed place could last for hours and hours, I've decided that in this video I'll be presenting you with the 4 that I've come across in the course of my research that I've found the most compelling. 2 UFO sightings, 1 instance of paranormal activity, and of course a cryptid sighting. So please, make yourself comfortable, arm yourself with something sharp or heavy, and make sure all the exits are clear as we take a dive into the mysteries of Cannock Chase. Oh, and also, please like the video, comment, share and subscribe. We'll start with a UFO sighting that I found most intriguing. Yes, I still call them UFOs, not UAPs. I don't like the term UAP. The first sighting was captured on film and uploaded to the YouTube channel Vortecks. I'll link it in the description below. It shows several orbs floating above Cannock Chase at just before 4 AM on the 15th of August 2012. Luckily, the video hasn't been taken down, at least not yet. These light orbs appear and disappear at different intervals. They are clearly not street lights, as actual street lights are visible in the video, and the strange orbs do not seem to match them in colour. They are also far too high up in the sky. Some who watch this video may simply dismiss these lights as drones, but what we have to remember is that this footage was taken back in 2012, and back then, drones were far less common than they are today. What we can immediately dismiss is the idea that this is CGI trickery. No chance. What we see in this video, whatever it is absolutely real and present at the time of filming. It would be hard to create convincing CGI like this at home today, let alone 12 years ago. The lights are too still to be aeroplanes, and there is no noise indicating that they are helicopters, which would certainly be audible at such close proximity. These lights are definitely anomalous. Next up, we have a particularly chilling story related to us by a man named Brendan Davis Markhall, appearing on the YouTube channel David Tom's TV. It is the only video on the channel. It was uploaded back in 2016. The video's description states that this event took place 23 years ago, so this would put it at around 1993. Mr. Davis Markhall states that one night he and a group of friends were parked in Cannock Chase, socialising and enjoying each other's company. He states that they were basically good kids and weren't into drinking, smoking or any heavier stuff that polite society takes a dim view of. It was pitch black and some of the kids were sitting on the bonnets of the cars, some inside, some on the roofs, and engaging in general chit-chat and messing about, having a nice time. After a short while, what they thought was a shooting star flew above them in the sky. However, he states that it was moving just a little bit too slowly to be a shooting star. It appeared to land in the woods not too far from them. He then states that after an indeterminable amount of time, he and his friends noticed a light coming through the trees where the object had landed, which caused them concern, and so they turned on the headlights of both cars to get some idea of what it was. As they switched on the lights, they were suddenly confronted with quite a menacing sight. Stood in the trees before them was a group of 30 or so people of all ages. Some of them adults, some of them children, all dressed in strange attire that didn't seem to fit in with the time or place, though he does not go into any further detail on this aspect of the encounter. And then, out of the large group of humanoid beings, stepped a man. The witness states that, quote, "There was nothing sinister about him, there was nothing monstrous about him, but he sort of stepped forward from the crowd and just kind of said in a friendly manner, 'Why don't you come over here?' End quote. It was at this point that Mr. Davis Markhall and his friends piled into the 2 cars and sped away as quickly as their engines would allow. The third one is a paranormal sighting. According to mysteriousbritain.co.uk, which has on its site an article from the Cannock Chase Post, the area isn't just a hotspot for UFO sightings. An article from the 14th of November 2008 by a Jonathan Tan tells us that the area has its very own Bigfoot. However, this isn't just your average ape man. It appears to be the ghost of an ape man. Dozens of sightings have been reported over the years, and in September of 2008, a local man was chased by the terrifying beast while driving through the chase at around 2 a.m. in the morning. Quote, "This thing was the shape of a human, but stood about 7 to 8 feet tall. As soon as it realised we had seen it, it stood up straight and ran towards us. This thing was definitely not human. It was huge. It wasn't just tall, but broad and stocky too. I don't know whether it was flying or jumping or what." End quote. But these reports are far from being a modern phenomenon. There have been sightings going back to the 1880s. As per the Cannock Chase Post, quote, "On the 21st of January 1879, a labouring man was employed to take a cart of luggage from Ranton in Staffordshire to Woodcock, beyond Newport in Shropshire. He was late in coming back. His horse was tired, and could only crawl along at a foot's pace, so that it was 10 o'clock at night when he arrived at the place where the high road crosses the Birmingham and Liverpool Canal. Just before he reached the canal bridge, a strange black creature with great white eyes sprang out of the plantation by the roadside and alighted on his horse's back. He tried to push it off with his whip, but to his horror, the whip went through the thing, and he dropped it on the ground in fright. According to Mrs. Byrne, when the man recovered from the fright, he returned home and excitedly spread the story. A few days later, a policeman appeared and told the man, 'That was the monkey man, sir.'" End quote. Prominent cryptozoologist and fellow countryman of mine, Nick Redfern, is convinced of the ghostly apparition's existence, telling the paper, quote, "If this creature was flesh and blood, there would have to be more than one to ensure reproduction. If there was a colony of them on the chase, we would be seeing massive evidence of them feeding on the local animal population. But the amount of deer kills that have taken place are not anywhere near enough to feed a colony of these creatures. However, I am in no doubt that the reports people have made are genuine. I have spoken to a number of witnesses to the creature myself, and I am convinced of their honesty. The Cannock Chase Bigfoot has to be a ghostly, paranormal type thing, and not a large, physical ape." End quote. As if contending with ghosts and cryptids weren't difficult enough, now we have to deal with ghosts of cryptids. Speaking of, we couldn't have a Cryptid Central video without a bona fide cryptid now, could we? This final entry also comes courtesy of mysteriousbritain.co.uk and is taken from an article by an Amanda Hall from the 12th of March 2009 and concerns the legendary black dogs found throughout the British Isles. Quote, "The apparition has been described as large, black, muscular, with sharp pointed ears and strangely glowing eyes. British folklore indicates that the black dog forewarns death. The most prominent sightings happened in the 1970s and early 1980s. Whilst driving through the chase in 1972, Nigel Lee described seeing a ball of light crash into the ground. He slowed down to take a closer look and was confronted by the biggest bloody dog I've ever seen. Within a month, one of Mr. Lee's close friends died in a terrible industrial accident, which Mr. Lee believed may have been connected to the dog apparition. In January 1985, there was another report of the hellhound stalking Coal Pit Lane, Brereton. Mrs. Sylvia Everett of Cannockwood Road described a strange misty figure moving across the road as she and her husband drove on a warm and clear summer night. Although they could not explain the incident, Mrs. Everett believed that it may have been connected to the dog law of Brereton. Traditionally, demonic dogs are associated with graveyards, bridges, water, crossroads, and places connected with violence and death. Could there be a connection between these sights and the spectral hound? End quote. And that, my friends, is all I have for you today. Very interesting stuff, very spooky, but still barely scratching the surface of the horrors that Cannock Chase has to offer. What do you think? Will you be packing up your tent, camera, hunting gear and some cheese sandwiches and heading off into the chase to see what you can find out there? If you are, I'm afraid I can't be held responsible for what may happen if you encounter something that I've talked about in this video. So, before that happens, I have just one thing to say to you. Please like this video, comment, share and subscribe, while you still can.